Encourage Foster Care is a private, faith-based foster care agency located in 13 counties throughout Northeast and Central Ohio. Every month, Encourage receives dozens of requests for foster homes in Northeast Ohio. Due to the lack of foster homes, they're forced to turn away up to 80 children a month. Encourage is currently working to expand their services and support. Learn how you can be part of the solution and help create hope for the community at buildinghopecampaign.org. That's buildinghopecampaign.org. Now, on with today's episode. This is the Third Place Podcast, recording from the JLP CPAs sponsored studio. I'm Brian Dolan. Over there's Lauren Cuevas.
Home is your first place, work is your second place, and this is your third place where the Christian community gathers.
Today, we're going to be having a great discussion with Dr. Steve Grcevich from Key Ministry, local child and adolescent psychiatrist, retired. And we're going to chat with him about AI companions for kids. Like imaginary friends cranked up to a whole new level, essentially.
Yeah, I've seen people talk to ChatGPT like it's like their friend.
Really?
Yeah. Like not people I know, but I've seen it on the internet.
Wow. Yeah, well, these AI companions, we have statistics on how many kids are engaging with this technology. And you'll have to listen in to find out how many, but it will shock you. Okay? Also, we're going to be chatting about a number of things, including the jealousy of God. It's a weird concept. We're chatting about that spiritual concept here. But first, I've got to hear about you laughing about yourself, at yourself, with yourself.
Yes, I was driving the car today, just with one of my children, Trey. And he likes music very loud. Today it was Moana.
Ah, good choice. Which
Quite
one?
loud.
You're welcome.
It was either that one or the How Far I'll Go.
How's that one go?
Two main ones. I'm not singing.
I almost got you.
So I was just, minding my own business, thinking to myself. And I was getting close to my destination that I didn't know. And so I turned down the music. And he said, "Hey, why'd you turn it down?" From volume 20. He's just in the back having an existential crisis, listening to his music so loud. I turned it down. He asked why I turned it down. And I said, "I'm turning it down so I can see where I'm going."
Oh, yeah. Was this your first time doing that?
No, it's not my first time, but it's the first time I verbalized what I was doing. And I laughed out loud to myself. I said, "Turn it down so I can see where I'm going."
Did he respond to that at all?
No.
Yeah.
And then he asked why I was laughing at myself.
You are getting old.
Why do we do that?
I don't understand it.
It helps.
It helps a lot.
But it doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense because unless you have that lady that talks to you, do you let her talk to you on Google Maps and tell you where to turn?
No.
Yeah, I used to have that happen and my family shut that down.
No.
No, we're not doing that.
I'll just use my eyes.
So I use my eyes, and when you get close to the destination,
Yeah.
you've been going maybe 55 or
Sure.
65, depending on the speed limit, on the highway, cranking up the music, you're doing fine. But you get close, you got some turns, turn it down.
What is that? Is it just your
to
brain's
focus?
trying to process too much? It's processing the music and where you're trying to go?
Yeah, maybe, because, I guess I was going to say process a lot. You're turning. But no, you got to look at street signs. You're like, oh, where are the signs?
Yeah,
because each city does it so different.
And you don't know what the street is. I was looking for a street called Hannah. I'm like, okay, I got to look for the street name because I don't know where it is.
Well, then Google does that dumb, you're turning in 1,000 feet. And I go, I don't know what that is. I don't.
Thank you so much.
I don't know how many feet that is.
I'm the same way, and people think I'm so
1,000.
dumb.
No, you're not dumb. I don't think when I'm driving
1,000 feet's
in feet.
always way more than I expect.
Well, yeah. But also, when you're driving, I'm thinking in miles.
Right.
Quarters of miles, maybe.
Maybe.
Halves, 3/4, full miles. I'm not thinking
Is
in
1,000 feet a certain amount of quarters of miles?
I'm upset about the 1,000 feet because then what happens is every time there's a turn, especially if it's a right, you're like, it might be right here.
Yes.
And then Sarah goes, no, Brian, that's the store. Oh, it's okay. I can't go there.
Yes, I'm the same.
When I'm in Cuyahoga Falls, you're downtown Cuyahoga Falls and you turn onto whatever street that is by the Sheraton there.
Front Street.
When you get closer to where you live, which I'm not going to get too specific so we're not all stopping by Lauren's house, they put a new sign in. And there's a street that's not a street that has a sign. It's if you would turn there, you would end up in a short dead end with businesses.
Oh, interesting.
And I almost turned there. Good I must have had the music too loud.
Recently?
Yeah,
You know where my house is.
I know.
You don't need the street signs.
I'm terrible at directions. I was driving here today, and Sarah dropped me off. She was going to work in town here. We have some things going on today, and we start driving, and she goes, "Whoa, no directions." I was like, "No,
Big directions guy.
no, I know where I'm going." She goes, "Wait, you know you're going? What?" Like I will
It takes me a while to remember.
really.
Oh yeah, I think it took me 2 weeks to feel comfortable turning the GPS off to get to the city mission.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I did directions to WCRF. I was like 3 turns away from it, and I would be like, directions. Turn it down. I've got to see where I'm going.
Turn it down. I'm turning it down so I can see where I'm going.
So it's a concentration problem.
I think so. But I laughed out loud and I said, turn it down to see where I'm going. Why did I say that?
And how old are you now again?
32, thank you.
Yeah, I guess
Not even 32 and a half.
you're drifting towards 35, that must be the cutoff
Of
where concentration requires silence, or at least quiet.
Yeah, maybe.
When you're a kid, you can do your homework and crank up the tunes.
Oh yeah, I was working in here this week and I had the record player on, and at one point I was really trying to focus. I was like, I'm gonna turn that off. I can't think while that's on.
I actually just did that. I came in here, I was like, I'm going to prepare for our podcast. Put on a little record. It was like, had it quiet.
Yeah.
I was like, I got to read. Yeah, better turn that off. I can't.
What is that?
I don't know what that is. If you can figure it out, you can let us know. Okay?
Doctors, let us know. Brain doctors. They're the only ones that are gonna know, right?
Like a neurologist?
Yeah.
Yeah. All the neurologist fans of the third place, let us know
Let
why
us
that
know.
is. Okay. One of the topics we want to discuss today before we get to AI companions, like literally kids having friends that are AI apps and such.
Sure.
There's a Christianity Today article that you wanted to talk about. And it deals with something I think a lot of Christians don't know what to do with. Because the scripture talks fairly regularly about God being jealous. So in Deuteronomy, as Moses addresses Israel on the eve of entering the promised land, he makes regular mention of God's jealousy. We could go on and on. It's all over the place. Okay. And I think a lot of Christians will read that and go, oh, okay, that's weird. Anyway. God's anger too, I think people struggle with. Mm-hmm. But jealousy, they kind of go, I don't know if I like that because that's bad. Why would God do bad things?
Yeah, it's hard to describe, but it's not the same type of jealousy we'd say if like you see your boyfriend texting some other girl or something. It's like not like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And the
But
writer of
that's
this
how we
piece,
use that word.
yes. And this is another example where you probably got a lot of this in your Bible education. The English language is often so lacking.
Yeah.
I've talked to a number of people who are multilingual, and they're all just kind of like, English, meh. Now, I like English. I'm not being anti-American or something. It's only I speak British a
That's
little bit.
nothing.
Right. You do too. Go ahead.
No, thank you.
But I've talked to somebody. This one guy I met, he was a coach of mine he was from Nigeria, and he spoke probably like 5 languages, and his family all spoke those same 5 languages, and one of them was English. And when they would have conversations, they might weave in and out of 3 or 4 languages, sentence by sentence, to choose the best word to best exemplify what they're trying to communicate. And in this case, English, the modern English use of jealous is not that great.
And sometimes over time, we, even in our modern day society, kind of switch what words mean, through time.
Correct. One of my favorite examples in the Flintstones. Remember what kind of time they're going to have in the Flintstones?
A gay old time.
Right. Which a long time ago, they're just happy.
Yeah.
And now
Switched.
They'd have to change that for today's society.
Yes.
Okay, so in this case, he said there's a big difference, though, this writer, between the words envy and jealousy. That God is jealous, but he's never envious.
Yeah, envious is like you want something that someone else has. Is that right?
Yeah, he said, okay, so they're near opposites in their true meaning. So envy is fierce desire for something that rightly belongs to someone else. Now, God's not envious. So if you really want something that belongs to someone else, that's bad.
Yeah.
Okay?
I want that house. They have a nice house. I want that house.
Yeah. And they do have a nice
Whoever
house.
they are.
most all of them. In Scripture, we see it exposed as a disorder-sowing, bone-rotting, Christ-killing work of the flesh. And they give a bunch of different examples of that. Jealousy, by contrast, is a fierce desire for something that rightly belongs to you. A fierce desire for something that rightly belongs to you. So envy is when you want to sleep with someone else's husband. Envy is when you want to sleep with someone else's husband or wife. Jealousy is when you don't want anyone else to sleep with yours. And so when God is jealous for our love, it rightly belongs to him, and we're giving it away somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And so when God is jealous, he is fiercely desiring something that rightly belongs to him, and we are doing something else with it. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. We're giving our desires or our passions or our attention to something else.
So
it's actually kind of nice, jealousy. To have someone be jealous about you.
It sounds so weird to say
It's
that.
actually kind of nice, right?
I feel like you shouldn't say that.
Like, okay, if my husband was like, I'm jealous for you. What's that song? He is jealous for you.
Jealous for you. He's jealous. I don't know that song. What?
David Crowder and John Mark McMillan, both. He is.
They wrote a song about jealousy?
Yeah, he is jealous for you.
Oh, gosh. Because
Love's like a hurricane. Something like a tree. Oh, man, I'm really butchering this.
Go ahead and
Sloppy
sing it
White
if you
Kiss
want.
song? Hello? Sloppy White Kiss? Unforeseen Kiss song?
I don't listen to the band Kiss, Lauren. Just
It's not
kidding.
about that.
That's not what you meant.
Anyways, you love David Crowder, so you should know.
I met him once. Nice guy. But anyway, that was such a dumb name drop. Like he would have no memory of this meeting. It was so lame. Okay.
Anyways, what I was saying is it would be nice for my husband to be jealous of me. He doesn't want me. He wants my affections, not for me to give it somewhere else.
And so play that out in relationships, though, because I remember my wife had this friend who was a very jealous woman. Like
I think that's more like envious. I think what we use as jealous today might come up maybe more as more envious.
But she was more worried about, like, if her husband ever gave another woman attention of any sort, she would be jealous because she wanted it. She didn't want him doing that. Is that a fear-based thing then?
Yeah, I think so.
But
not trusting your husband.
Well, because like
You're
one time,
being distrustful of him.
in front of Sarah, I looked at her and I said, like, "Oh, I really like your hair." It was like a big change in her hair, like got a bob or something. I don't know what it was. I don't know, hair bob.
But you noticed.
Yeah, and I said something, and then later she said to my wife, like, "Oh, can you believe he said that?"
No,
right in front of you.
She just doesn't trust her husband.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, she thinks anytime that he's compliments somebody else, that he's like longing for them romantically. She's worried that he's going to want someone else.
Okay.
That's probably some self-confidence problems for her too. Like, he doesn't want me, he wants other people.
Okay, so that's a terrible example of actual jealousy.
I think we say that's jealousy, but it's really not.
It's actually envy. No, it's not envy.
No, it's
like fear.
It's fear and worry and probably some self-confidence things, some distrusting of your spouse.
Yeah. But is distrust a feeling? Yeah, I guess it's a feeling. Insecurity.
Yeah.
Insecurity. Look at us.
We did it.
We're with the words. Now, again, just for the sake of repeating it for my own good here, envy is a fierce desire for something that rightly belongs to someone else. Mm-hmm. Jealousy is something that you're fiercely desiring and it rightly belongs to you. And I think we have this tendency with some of the more complicated things about God to honestly just skip them. Like I would say that if I read that jealousy thing, I'd probably, if God's described as jealous, there's probably a list of other things in the list too. And I just focus on those.
You're right.
Like, I go, jealous? I don't know what's going on.
I don't know what that means. Okay, bye. Moving on.
But a good Bible student wouldn't do that, right? A good Bible student would pause on the one that gives them trouble.
Yeah.
And try to learn what it is. Mm-hmm. Do you remember learning that in theology school?
Not really. Not really.
No? Mm-mm. Well, I think it's helpful, though.
Yeah, I think so, too.
So there you go. Now we know God is a jealous God, and you shouldn't feel bad about that because...
It's okay. That means you rightly belong to him.
Yeah, very good. Okay, before we get to our conversation with Dr. Steve Grcevich about all the young people in your life and their fake friends, not even social media fake, actual AI companions, we have to thank some of our sponsors. First of all, special thanks to Christian Children's Home of Ohio. Christian Children's Home of Ohio. I got their mug here. We got their logo over there, for those who don't know. And they help kids who have been through traumatic experiences. They give them a safe environment, a residential environment where they can get trauma-informed therapy. There's equine therapy. They're a wonderful organization that really cares for the least of these when it comes to kids who've been through a terrible time. So go check them out, ccho.org, ccho.org. They have other services available as well for you to consider. They have counseling and such, but in this case, go check them out and learn more about what they're doing. They've been a big supporter of us. Also, we want to thank JLP CPAs. So they're a new sponsor of the show. They're sponsoring the studio. If you're a small business owner and you already wear dozens of hats, we're small business owners. Like you wear dozens of hats.
You do too.
Do I?
Well.
Not as many. Like multiple hats. I'm not capable of wearing dozens of hats.
Yeah, maybe just two.
But so that's complicated. So don't let taxes, payroll, and financial reporting be one more thing on that list. JLP CPA specializes in supporting businesses just like yours with practical financial services, personalized attention. They understand that behind every balance sheet is a dream worth protecting. So a big firm knowledge, small firm care. To find out more about this Northeast Ohio accounting firm, go to their website, jlpcpas.com.
When I found out they did people's payrolls, I was like, that's a big help. I
Yeah.
didn't even know that was a thing that you could do.
I've actually been thinking about that as our business grows. Like, I wonder if they'll do our payroll.
Just pay us.
But, when you're running a small business, you don't want to wear a
imagine.
Social Security tax. I'm
Right.
pulling my hair out. That's
Rita.
what that was. Oh, don't. I hate Rita.
Don't even say her name.
We like you, Rita, if you're watching, but if you're not, we don't like you.
You almost said the word hate and you had to stop yourself.
Because I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian. Rita feels foolish to me. If you live in Northeast Ohio, you know what I'm talking about. So jlpcpas.com. Also, we have another sponsor. Very excited about this. Big news.
Alert.
Did you know I'm going to be hosting a brand new morning show?
Wow.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, my friends down at KHCB in Texas, down in Houston, Texas. No?
Don't do that.
They're wearing their 10-gallon hats. No, they're not. I don't know whether they are or not. I haven't been there yet. But I'm going to be hosting a 2-hour morning show on their Upliftd online stream. Now, the exact start date is probably going to be mid to late August, but it's going to be great. It's going to be filled with scripture, worship music, stories of hope to start your day grounded in Christ. A big thanks to KHCB's Upliftd stream for sponsoring the Third Place podcast. You can listen to me weekdays. It'll be 6 to 8 Central, 7 to 9 Eastern.
Good job.
I have to look up.
I hate that.
Yep, to know what's going on there. For more information now, we're going to get a better website in a little bit, but for now it's upliftd.life, upliftd.life to learn more, or go to the KHCB app. Special thanks to them for sponsoring today's episode. Are we doing the other sponsor as well?
We are.
All right. Wow, look at us. Look at all the sponsors. So
Yay.
what if your finances didn't feel overwhelming? What if you had someone you trusted to help you plan your future?
You already do trust him.
That's exactly what our friend
Dave Safransky.
David Safransky and his company, Edgewater Investment Group, do, and they're a faithful sponsor of this podcast. They're not about hype and high-pressure sales, just steady, reliable guidance for real people, from budgeting to investing to retirement. They help you build a plan you can believe in, and we're thrilled to have them as a sponsor of the Third Place podcast. Go to their website, edgewaterig.com, edgewaterig.com to get started. Your future self will thank you. Did Dave write that?
Dave.
Did he write that?
No, you did.
I did? I'm so cheesy and clever. So special thanks to our sponsors. And you could be a sponsor too.
Yeah.
There's room for everybody. Not all these sponsorships last the same length. We'd love to have you join us. So for more information about sponsorship, you can reach out to Lauren.
Yes. Lauren at stainedglass-media.com.
Or just go to stainedglass-media.com. Why did I'm having trouble with that. I've said that a couple times, stained glass. I don't know what that is.
Stainedglass-media.com.
Okay.
Thank you for saying in unison with me.
Because we're cutesy.
As if I couldn't say it myself.
Well, because should I mansplain now? Is that what I should do?
Please, go ahead. I'd love to hear it.
See, unison is when you say things at the same time, just like we did.
Okay.
I don't know. Mansplaining is so rude. I don't know how to do it. So
What were you mansplaining to me?
I don't know.
I didn't call something that wasn't unison something else.
I don't know. Just cut me some slack. I'm old. Okay, let me turn this down here so I can focus. But you got to tell people about Patreon.
Oh, yes. So if you like the show, which you do because you're listening, please rate, review, subscribe. That way you'll get notified when new episodes come out. You can do that on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. And if you leave a review, you can say something like a little nice about us so that other people know that we're nice. And if you love the show, you can go to patreon.com/The Third Place Podcast. Patreon.com/The Third Place Podcast. Over there, you've got like tons of extra content.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking the Moron Moment. There's 2 or 3 of them up by now. We've got all kinds of videos from Daria updating us on her pregnancy, what's going on, being a new mom, this whole new journey. And Pause for Prayer. One Pause for Prayer every single week from Cindy Farini. Patreon.com/The Third Place Podcast. And I think it's a pretty good entry point.
It's a good
$5, $10, and $15 are the different tiers you can join at.
I had a way different price point, and you're like, what is wrong with you?
Yes.
So lots is wrong with me. We don't have time for that.
That's why I wear the hats.
Is that so true? Is that
That's
covers it? Okay, so with that, your kid or grandkid may have an AI friend. Okay, they may, in fact, statistically speaking, it's probably pretty likely. We'll get into that now with Dr. Steve Grcevich. Joining us now on the Third Place Podcast is our good friend, Dr. Steve Grcevich, who is now a retired child and adolescent psychiatrist, quasi, you would say, right? Retired?
Well, full-time ministry, but it's hard to totally put 40 years of psychiatry behind you.
Right, yes. And then, of course, president and founder of Key Ministry. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Well, thanks for having me back.
So a lot has changed in your career. I mean, you were in like almost the perfect time span of a career to watch technology overtake your industry. I mean, did you start off like writing all your documentation and notes, or were you typing it?
Interestingly enough, I finished writing all of my documentation and notes so that we never switched over to an electronic medical record for our docs.
How did you manage to resist that? And why did you do it?
So why did I do it? I was doing some consulting work under a grant down in Stark County, and I saw a few kids for them while I was down there, and I tried to use the electronic record. And so one of the things that people need to understand about these things is that they're not designed to capture information. They're designed to capture revenue. And so to be able to complete the online form, it dictates the specific questions that you need to ask when you're in front of a patient or when you're in front of a family.
Huh.
And that, if you don't answer correctly, like, do not pass go, do not collect your $200. And so part of what I think was the most important thing that I had, to contribute to families when I'm sitting there, like, being present with them, listening for them, is that, it's the way I think about things and sort of spontaneously ask different questions and kind of dig deeper. And these electronic records aren't organized in that way. They're organized to be able to collect the information that you need to bill to private insurance and Medicare and Medicaid the highest value billing code. And so that essentially, if we had gone ahead and embraced that, I mean, I'm at that point like a data collector, and the whole thought process that goes into like what I'm doing when I'm evaluating kids and meeting with families would go right out the window.
See, that's compelling to me because even when you think about interviewing, some people will have their list of questions and they don't really listen to an answer and they just go through their list of questions. But a good interviewer is going to take the conversation that's coming and is going to adapt and change as the conversation flows. And so you're saying a physician would need to do that, especially in child psychiatry, to
Absolutely.
properly diagnose.
Yeah, because again, like, a lot of the things that I'm going to ask are not necessarily things that would come straight off of like the template that give you all the check marks that you need to be able to like bill for $40 more.
Well, and then it's my understanding as well that for doctors, things changed over the last few decades dramatically in terms of the requirements of paperwork. As in, you're doing, was it, dare I say, half of your work was paperwork?
So when I started off, and this would have been like 1990, 1991, when I started doing some private practice things. When we originally set up our group, our docs, the expectation was that 80% of your time would be spent with patients.
Sure.
Actually, sort of seeing people, that's time that you could schedule. I mean, the other time, paperwork, phone calls, stuff like that. By the time I finished, I was spending 3 hours on administrative stuff for every hour that I was spending with kids.
That's flipped it on its head almost.
Yeah, there's this graph that you see from time to time on Twitter that shows like over the last 50 years, like the number of physicians in the United States, the number of hospital administrators, and the administrative bloat, and the amount of support staff that one needs to have nowadays, to be able to sustain a medical practice for middle class people. The money is driving the whole model of care. And like when you're at a point where like if you're a doc, and I can remember when I was like doing this started, in like pediatric and primary care offices when I was doing a lot of lectures, roundtable stuff 25 years ago. The average doc needed about 5 support people just to be able to get through the day. When you look at like,
Wow.
nurses, administrators, front desk staff, receptionists. And so that the only way to generate the money to be able to support all of that is these assembly line practices where you're just checking off the boxes and seeing as many people as you can, as quickly as you can. And I was never good with practicing that way because, I saw work as a form of worship. And as a Christian doc, part of how I would reflect that is that, if God is excellent in everything that he does, and I want to reflect that, I needed to do the same. And so that embracing all of that stuff wasn't going to enable me to be at my best.
Now, someday we'll have to talk about how to fix all this. I mean, you and I aren't going to fix it, but I'm curious about that. So at some point we should discuss that.
Yes.
But today, our discussion is technology related, although this came in at the very tail end of your active work as an active practitioner. The idea of AI, of course, it's become a huge part of life. A lot of people are implementing it. But there's this phenomena with kids and with adults, really, too, I guess, called AI companions. Can you just tell us a little bit about that idea?
Okay, so when you think about the impact that, again, social media technology has had on folks over the last 10 to 15 years, I suspect that the stuff that's coming with AI is going to be exponentially more disruptive to society. And so one of the things that we're seeing with artificial intelligence is that, when you have these supercomputer systems and you have these learning models that, literally are sort of like scanning the internet, and where, a lot of these systems will sort of like train themselves on how to respond to people. Like the most basic version of this, is like the chat bot that like when you're looking for a car, the little pop-up window appears sort of like in the bottom left-hand
Yeah.
side of the screen, and encourages you, to put in some contact information, ask a question. I mean, that is to what's coming AI wise, like what Pong was to like what, modern video gaming in a sense. And so that there are these very elaborate AI chatbots that have developed that that in adults have been made available to provide companionship to folks.
So it's like a virtual friend.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's a virtual friend. That there are a number of like sites now on the internet where you can design your friend. You can choose certain attributes that you would like in your friend. Part of what AI will do is that, when you describe certain physical features that you would like in your friend, it will, it will create, still photos and now video of your friend.
So it's taking an imaginary friend just to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, it's taken imaginary friend to the next level, and so that a lot of adults have started like using these essentially as romantic partners, sort of functioning in the role that a best friend would function in or a spouse would function in. Now, one of the applications of the technology that is, that's interesting, sort of, and we can talk about this another day because it's a topic in and of itself. But there was a New York Times feature earlier this month where Akron Children's Hospital here locally had developed an AI-driven interactive therapy app because at some of their outlying clinics, like for example in Ashland, that the waiting list for a counselor or a therapist for kids was months and months long.
It is,
and
yeah.
they have looked at developing these kinds of apps as a way of doing psychotherapy for kids where they can't afford, or the supply, like in geographic areas where like the supply of therapists to be able to see kids is too short. So it turns out that there are a lot of kids going on to these sites where they have created these apps to be companions or friends or romantic partners for adults. And there's a shocking number of kids who are accessing these sites.
Well, yeah, and you're a data guy. You
Yeah.
love looking at statistics before you draw any firm conclusions. And you've written a piece actually just to begin to tell people where to find this. You've got a Substack for those who don't know. What is that?
So I started a Substack in retirement like a month ago. It's called Child Psychiatry for Christians, and it's specifically to inform pastors, church leaders, Christian parents about how do we make sense of the stuff that's out there, and how from a Christian perspective can we be doing the kinds of things that we want to do to promote good mental health in our kids.
And it's essentially a blog for those who don't know what a Substack is.
Yeah, it's a blog. There's some other things, as we go on that are going to be added to that so that, people subscribe to these. At this point, it's entirely free. We're looking at ways of making it free for pastors and church leaders going on, but you also have opportunity to do premium content. So like one of the things that we may be doing, in a few months is starting to do like some live interactive Zoom chats with people who are subscribers.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And how do people find your Substack?
If you go Substack, just type it, Child Psychiatry for Christians.
That's easier than spelling Grcevich.
Yeah, Grcevich. Yeah, I haven't, it's still new, and so I haven't been talking about it a lot because I want to make sure I could regularly do 2 posts a week for 3 months.
Sure.
Before we start cranking out there. But this is the topic of today's Substack.
Yeah, it's called What Should We Make of Kids and Their AI Companions? What should we make of kids and their AI companions? Where you break down some of this research from Common Sense Media.
Yeah. So much to my surprise, it turns out this is a national survey that they did in conjunction with University of Chicago, April, May of this year. Over 1,000 teenagers ages 13 to 17, 72% of teenagers are using AI companions.
That just knocked me off my chair. I didn't think that many would be using it. I mean, because as adults, I think many of us as adults would go, well, this is ridiculous. I've got actual friends. Why do I need this?
Well, there are an awful lot of adults using it because, in fact, an awful lot of adults don't have actual friends.
But even then, okay, so I haven't done this, obviously, and it just sounds weird to me because of the inauthenticity of the response, knowing it's not an actual person. But what do you think is attracting kids to this? Is it the lack of relationship?
So this is one of the things that they got into in the study. And so 72% of teens, have these AI companions or friends. Half of them use them regularly, like 1 to 3 times per week or more.
Wow.
And so they started sort of like drilling down into this. And one of the things that they found is that close to 40% of them are using them to help with social skills,
Like to
rehearse
practice?
social situations. Yeah, like literally practice. So that one of the things that they might be asking their AI friend is that, I'm having an argument with my friend about, XYZ. How should I approach her? Or practicing or rehearsing different ways of approaching their friend.
No, I'm not super bothered by
rehearsing
that.
this with like the AI companion.
That seems actually kind of helpful, doesn't it? Maybe not.
Okay, for some kids, it might be. Now, part of the reason why we have the crisis that we have right now is that, in part because of the effect of the time that kids are spending online and the impact of social media and screens, a lot of our mental health crisis is being driven by social isolation. And so that you can see, that there are subgroups of kids that where this would be helpful. And so, when I think back, to my own high school experience, and, nowadays I would, they didn't have child psychiatrists in Boardman in Boardman, Ohio, when I was a senior in high school in 1978. I would have probably been diagnosed, today with some kind of anxiety. And, I'm somewhat proud and halfway ashamed to say that the records that I set in high school for dating futility still stand. They may be matched, but they will never be broken.
Yeah, I asked.
Yeah, I could have seen
terrible at
using something like this.
I could have used it, Steve, with asking girls out.
Yeah.
I asked out my wife so poorly on our first date that I could use the practice. But this is not the only reason kids are using it.
No, it's not. It's not the only reason kids are using it, but again, like a lot of the focus of this is, helping them, looking for advice in dealing with different social situations. One of the things that I found very concerning about it is that a third of the kids that they surveyed who have these AI companions said that at times they felt more comfortable talking with their AI companion about these issues than they did talking with another person or with an adult about these issues.
Now, okay, logically, I understand why, right? Because an AI is not going to have an emotion that's going to react to what you're saying in a way that you don't like. But that's a troubling long-term trend, right? Because you're not in real relationship.
That's correct.
And real relationship is not easy.
That's also correct. And one of the things, like if we were to get into a conversation about like these therapy apps, it kind of comes back to like what we were talking about with the electronic record. Like these therapy apps are based upon sort of the questions that people ask, the data that's in charge, and the stuff that they're recording. It misses the nuances of things. Right.
And and those subtleties that a real person can pick up on and actually grab onto. And so, but there's a lot of kids that are saying they're more comfortable. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that one of the big things that's fueling this epidemic of mental health struggle in kids, is social isolation. That God created us in such a way that we need other people. The church is incomplete without
Correct.
everyone who has been given given the gifts and the talents that he gives us, to build and edify the church. And you think about sort of the whole, in like Romans 12, the whole picture that Paul paints of, the importance of like the different parts of the body working together. And in thinking about this, and now this is, it's maybe this is like, post psychiatry Steve thinking about it, but like when I was thinking about like, well, how do parents filter this stuff? How do they make sense out of it? Like, when is it good? When is it bad? Because there are some things about it that are good. The net, though, it's probably more of a bad thing than it is a good thing.
Well,
and in fact, like the folks who the folks who commissioned the study, are recommending that kids not have access to these, to these AI companions until they turn 18. Yeah.
Until they turn 18. Okay. Yeah. Because I mean, the Christian tendency is often, this is scary, avoid it completely. But I'm not certain we live in an age where you can just go, okay, we're not allowing AI companions here. Because I think if a kid wants to find it, they're going to find
72% of them have them already. I mean, like,
right. You're not going to shut it down.
The genie is out of the bottle.
Right. So the idea of like banning it in your home, I think, is a challenge to begin with. So wouldn't it be better for us to figure out how to teach kids to navigate it? Or do you think we ought to find a way to really shut it down for kids under 18?
So, there's a Supreme Court decision like recently about like, these porn sites and, the problems that they have, around kids accessing this online and the need for age verification. On the whole, I think that would probably be, that would probably be a good idea. And that folks who are using these things, they probably have to have some sort of reliable form of age verification at this point. Because again, like if you were to take these things, and you submitted it to like the FDA and you were like looking for approval and you were looking at sort of like a risk benefit ratio. Well, there are subsets of kids who may benefit from it. Like I could see like the kid on the high end of the autism spectrum, like using something like this to rehearse social situations.
Sure.
There are all other kinds of risks. Like, and so, again, this is now full-time ministry, Steve, thinking about this as opposed to, full-time child psychiatrist dabbling in ministry, Steve. But like one model or one way for like parents and grandparents, educators to think about this stuff is, does the technology support, a biblical anthropology, in terms of how people are designed and created to interact with one another in the world? So like if you're looking at something like this, does the technology enhance or detract from the relationships that a kid would have, with their parents, grandparents, and other adults in positions of influence in their life, like teachers, coaches, like small group leaders, young life folks, etc. Does the technology, enhance or detract from a kid's ability, to have age-appropriate relationships and interactions with their family? Does it enhance or detract from their ability, to form age-appropriate friendships with their peers? One of the things that we saw with the whole gender madness, and one of the consequences of this kind of technology, is that sometimes it might point kids to other peers with unhealthy identity development. So like, if a kid's using this technology, are they, are they more able to, participate in the kinds of like extracurricular activities and have like age appropriate interests, where they can connect with, with other kids who are developing in a healthy manner, versus does it draw them into something deeper where they're spending more time with groups of peers where they're struggling with unhealthy identity development, shall we say?
And so
And those would be like some of the filters that I think that parents need to think about, like when they, when they look at some of this kind of technology.
and see, to me, one of the ways, and I'd love your reaction to this, to encourage kids to not use it is to create an environment in your home where kids feel comfortable having difficult conversations with their parents, so they don't feel like the only alternative is to go to an AI companion. So how do we, like, if that's true, how do we actually cultivate that?
Yeah. So one of the recommendations, like if you go in like the Substack, I have like the link to like the full report from the study. And so one of the things that they had encouraged parents to do, and this is a place where like a parent needs to be fairly self-observant, like, are you using do you have an AI companion? Like, where's your AI girlfriend? Yeah. No. Like that you have to be able, as a parent, like if you're going to ask your kid about it, like, it's interesting. I mean, like, our 26-year-old is, working in children's mental health and living with us. And I just, dinner, I was reading this the other night and like, is this something that you've ever used? And, I mean, like she was pretty open and like, it's not, it's not something that she's used, but she's very familiar with her friends using it. And she's aware that kids who she comes in contact with, like during the school year, in the mental health job that she has, maybe like accessing this stuff, and so, again, I think if parents, like once they know that this stuff's out there, can broach the subject in a non-defensive, non-threatening kind of way, and, give their kids an opportunity to talk about it, not in the sense that like, I'm going to take your iPad and like throw it in the dumpster.
Well, because I'd imagine as a child psychiatrist, there were many situations where you almost had to counsel the parents in order to help the child.
Exactly.
Because without the parents reacting well and understanding, the child's not going to thrive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, like one of the things that, when I was thinking back about this, that even before we got involved, or even before I got involved with like this whole focus on like mental health ministry and evangelism and outreach and inclusion, one of the ways that I would direct families, even if they were not necessarily Christian, to churches, is that I had a lot of like lonely kids in nature practice like mine who are maybe, struggling socially or getting bullied a lot. And so they needed a place to be able to find healthy companionship, and a lot of times, like, kids develop like a certain reputation at school where like once you're seen in a certain way, it's very hard sometimes to be able to overcome that.
Yes.
And so that, and I mean, like this goes back like, 1990s, like 2000s, like a lot of times, like I would be pointing these kids to like church and places that had youth groups going, because it's like, where's the one place that this kid could get a fresh start with a bunch of people in a place where kids are most likely to be kind to them? And so, so there's this book that's coming out like in September, around like helping churches to start mental health ministries. Carrie Newhoff wrote the foreword to this. Shanti Feldhahn is a co-author with a guy named Jim Sells, who speaks at our conferences, who's a counseling psychology professor at Regent University. And one of the things that they said is that one of the most impactful things that the church can do for people, from a mental health standpoint in the 21st century, is just to give them an outlet for healthy community where folks can spend time in the physical presence of one another.
Yeah, and I think churches can cultivate that. I think families can encourage it. And so in the ideal situation, would you say that kids are obviously more interacting at church and at home, but not necessarily totally avoiding AI companionship?
No, so one of the things that they did emphasize in this study is that the kids who were using these AI companions were telling people that they spend more time with their real world friends than they do, with their AI companions.
That's good.
But like, when we look back at the history that we have, and you look at like what's happened with things like, internet gaming, kids spending time watching YouTube and watching videos there and on, TikTok and these other platforms, the whole internet porn thing. One of the problems with technology is that it tends to draw people away from embodied community, I guess would be like a way of putting it. And they tend to spend more and more time in these virtual worlds. And, again, like over the last few years, one of the things, just from, studying, reading scripture, a lot of the talks that I've been asked to do about some of the gender stuff, is just when you dig down, you really appreciate the extent to which Christianity is meant to be an embodied faith.
Yes. Very much so. Very much so. And I think we can model and encourage that.
Yeah. And so, one of the ways, God did not create us for, virtual reality, AI girlfriends, robot sex partners, and these other things that are coming down the road. And so, again, I think that potentially technology is a good thing when it's used as a tool to draw people into embodied relationship within the context of a biblical anthropology.
It's beautiful. So for those of you who want to check it out, there's lots more information at Dr. Steve Grcevich's Substack.
Yeah.
What should we make of kids and their AI companions? What should we make of kids and their AI companions? Also, of course, Key Ministry. Tell people how to get a hold of you, find out more about Key and your Substack.
Okay, so a couple of things coming up. We are doing our first tour stop for the Disability in the Church tour. We do the largest national disability ministry conference in the country each year. And we have a roadshow version of that with all of the essentials and the most popular talks from our national conference that will be September 11th and 12th at Cuyahoga Valley Church in Broadview Heights, Ohio.
Wonderful.
And so people can come for one day, both days. The first day are half-day intensives to help, pastors, church leaders, Christian educators, better understand mental health ministry, disability ministry, and trauma. The second day, again, lots of helpful talks and practical content. Looking ahead, our big National Disability in the Church conference with a very strong mental health ministry track this year will be April 21st to 23rd at McLean Bible Church in suburban Washington. That's a save the date now for the September 11th and 12th tour stop. Registration's now open at keyministry.org. And for parents interested in a deeper dive into some of this stuff, especially with the impact of technology, on September 18th, I am going to be doing an open program for parents within the church and the larger community. And it is going to be on the theme of answers for parents of the anxious generation. So that we take
good.
Jonathan Haidt's book that is, shaping a lot of, social policy now in terms of access with kids, cell phones in school, like some of those laws that have come down the road, but looking at sort of a more comprehensive approach of how we raise mentally healthy kids, in the Christian community, in the context of what they're exposed to. in terms of, technology, social media, and also sort of looking at differences in parenting practices that kids need to be successful in this world.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so how do people find out how to get a hold of these things and get signed up?
Okay, so the September 18th at Bay Press thing, I'm assuming that that's something that you can access more information like any day now through Bay Presbyterian Church's social media, and it's baypres.org.
Okay, and then keyministry.org is a great place to go check out more about Key Ministry and some of those upcoming events and conferences. Keyministry.org. Thank you, Dr. Steve Grcevich.
Well, thank you for all you're doing to help people connected with ministry around Northeast Ohio and giving folks a platform and a voice.
We're passionate about it. Now, before we sign off today, we have new sponsors this month, but we also are looking for more sponsors. So if you're interested in a sponsorship of the Third Place podcast, there's various levels where you can get involved with your business or your ministry. Just contact Lauren directly, Lauren at stainedglass-media.com, Lauren at stainedglass-media.com. And you can also check out our website for more information about not just sponsorships, but maybe you're looking to launch your own podcast and you need some support. We'd love to help you. More information at stainedglass-media.com. Special thanks to Jonah Swenson for our web design. Go to our website, connect with him. But again, Jonah Swenson did a great job at our website. And thank you to you for getting us launched and continuing to watch and support what we're doing. We're super grateful. That does it for today's edition of the Third Place Podcast.